we have some stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah, we got no light topics here, man. I would bet money Trump actually gets convicted, but let's say he gets to that point, right? I got money that says Biden pardons him.
I am not saying that I'm going to vote for Biden.
Why not? Here's why Trump coming to power.
How do you suggest he becomes president if he doesn't win the election?
Oh, for election subversion all over the place. I mean, you're already seeing it, right? Let's take our own great state of Florida. Okay. It wasn't subtle. Okay.
No, yeah.
My man was coming through saying, "I'm on the Trump end of this thing."
Oh yeah.
And Trump loved him, and they were doing great.
Slobbing on that.
All that man had to do. Now comes in this thing called Project 2025. The guillotine wasn't just about efficiency.
It was about showmanship. Absolutely.
It was about showmanship.
Absolutely. The guillotine was about showmanship.
The Hijack with DJ Zouain on the N.FM.
This is the Hijack number 343. That's some shit. That's crazy. I can't believe it. We've been doing some throwback episodes. We've been doing some episodes about, Palestine, because that's basically what's been happening as far as the world is concerned in my eyes. Everything else is secondary. Hold on, let me fix this a little bit. There we go. I kicked it. That's what I get for kicking it. For those of you listening, they're like, what the fuck is going on? Don't worry about it. All right, we're better. A little bit. So, at the end of the day, this show has turned into a show with a very questionable name. Like, I had a questionable name before, but the last shows have been about Palestine. I brought Palestinians here that moved here right before or right after 9/11. Like, I'm on a list for sure. And this episode is not going to take me off any of them. It's probably going to add me into some. And it's going to bring my buddy, who I am sure has been on a list for a very long time. So, with that said, I'm going to just go ahead and bring him in. He is one of my oldest friends, old co-host of The Hijack and of Irreverent and of a bunch of other projects, my buddy Al Sterling. Al, what up, dude?
What's going on, man? I have you know that I fake respectability pretty well. So I'm trying not to end up on any direct lists.
I don't do that well. You're gonna need to teach me that.
Well, I'm not saying I do it well. I said that I try.
I get that. So how have you been, dude? I you know what? This is also kind of selfish because we never get to hang out, and we're going to hang out in a few days, but we're probably going to be drunk because it's the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to hang out while I am sure we all have all of our digits. So
no, I'm good. Actually, I was thinking about you too. I thought about you because I was watching something happen in the news, and
you're like, damn, I was like, bail him out.
All right, Zouain. Well, no, I was like, all right, like there's I occupy a very specific like stripe. Every time I've been on the Hijack, it's usually like you got something historical or something that doesn't fit.
Yes,
and that's. I was like, this came down, and I'm like, yeah, all right, this
has to be. Yeah,
this is going to be.
Every once in a while, and there are a ton of, look, I get a ton of people going, hey man, I should be on your show, and I have something to say, and no offense to any of the people that do that. It's awesome. I love that, like, you have the enthusiasm, and fucking break open a microphone and start a podcast. But I'll tell you that, and we were talking about this off air, the editing process has to make it worth it, and it's not for nothing. But like, unless there is a something that fits the criteria with what we work on here, then I can justify spending 12 hours between editing and scheduling and graphics and everything like that. It's 12 hours, easy. So, with that said, Al is one of those people that when he calls me, there's usually a good reason, and for that reason, he always has an open door here.
I try not to waste your time. I'll tell you, though, I don't think it was the last episode I did.
It's been years.
We
were at the old place, at my old apartment.
Yeah. The one we did on the Velvet Divorce, where we figured out like how the United States would break up.
Yep.
Without
too much fun. So much fun.
It was a great episode. Like, I really enjoyed that one.
I'm gonna bring that. I'm gonna re-release that one because little housekeeping notes. We now have a new, because of the fact that the algorithm doesn't know how to serve people unless they know it's a specific type of thing. We have switched all of our episodes to its own separate YouTube channel called The Hijack The End. So if you go to The Hijack The End, all of the episodes are there. My DJ Zouain channel is still there, but it's all music, and it's music that I'm mixing. It's my DJ blog. So if you're interested in a day in the life of a DJ, that's that kind of thing. If you're interested in interesting mixes, sometimes that I don't do too well, but I just enjoy keeping those. Anyway, so those are the two channels that I continuously update. So The Hijack The End is where all of these are going to live, and I'm going to bring up the next, The Velvet Divorce, which, you know what? It was a fun episode to make, but now it's a almost practical episode to make. So considering what's going on, I just think it's wise. I'm gonna re-release that one. That's gonna be the Hijack 344. Will be another throwback episode 3. So, with that said, we have some stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah, we got no light topics here, man. We got nothing but heavy bullshit from end to end.
I mean, you know what? Dealer's choice. Where do you want to start?
Oh shit!
I'm gonna let you start because I have a lot, and most of it is my being furious with things like what's going on in Palestine. So.
Well, here's the deal. You've had a lot of conversations on Palestine, and I don't know. I can provide some historical stuff on it, but I'm not going to get you
your brain on some of that.
Yeah. I think we're going to be going over well-trodden ground. So. Sure. Let's go with what? Let's start with the Supreme Court. Let's start there.
Okay. Yes.
And instead of that heavy stuff with Palestine, let's talk about the Supreme Court. Not so much.
Yeah.
So today's Monday. It's 2:45.
Yes.
So on Monday, a couple hours ago, the Supreme Court released they're wrapping up their legislative session here.
Yep.
So they officially announced the presidential immunity issue that has been going around here, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with what's going on here, short version here. Back on January 6th, a couple of years back, some guys tried to take over.
Something happened.
Yeah, some stuff went down. And the question along this way has been, how much is Trump responsible, legally speaking, for what happened there?
Yep.
And the viewpoint had been through a lot of the court's cases thus far was that some of this shit's on him. And what the Supreme this of course went up to the Supreme Court, and we're doing this in the middle of election year, and this is only one of Trump's many different trials that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
But what the Supreme Court did here was really unhelpful, but not quite as nasty as everybody thinks.
Okay.
What they said is that on matters that have to do specifically with his job, he has absolute immunity. On things that are not directly related to the execution of his job as president, and not just him, by the way, this obviously the office of the president in general.
Yeah.
Where it is not directly related to executing the jobs of the office, he does not have immunity. Or he might have partial immunity or whatever else. But what they did here is they kicked it back down to the lower court to figure out which ones are which.
Jesus.
So that is not great. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not a positive moment at all. But
I know you're trying to sell it as a positive.
Oh, no. Okay. Listen, no, we're fucked. But what I want to be clear on,
sure we're all good on this.
I want to make sure that we're clear on when and exactly where we're fucked, because the court's this is on its face, there is a very thin line of logic that says the president executing the will of a bunch of other people here, the courts passing laws, executive branch, and all this other stuff, that there should be some kind of immunity to that, is not on its face completely batshit crazy.
I understand the premise. It's just it's being applied.
Yes,
in
this situation, it's really fucking bad. But I mean, also, I don't know which one of y'all were still hoping that Trump was going to face consequences. But I don't know how to. What are you doing, man?
Look, man. They made a really big show out of it.
They did, absolutely.
I was.
Trump was never going to face consequences. Never.
Okay, so you still don't think he's ever going to see inside of a prison?
Listen, I'm sure he'll see the inside of a prison if, like he's watching on TV or some shit. But there's no...
I hate you for this.
Dude, rich white dudes don't go to prison very often.
I understand, but
rich, powerful white dudes do not go to prison. That's the end of that sentence. It doesn't happen. Look, here's the deal. Even if... Because here's what's going to happen.
I understand this. Do you understand that my... Oh, and this is actually topical from this week. So, I used to be able to, up until this week, park in a ramp, a loading ramp for the post office right across the street from West End, where I DJ every Saturday. And there was a time where I got so drunk that I decided to leave my car there and walk home like a responsible human. But I left it parked overnight and blocked mail from getting delivered for a bit. The cops came over to my house and knocked on my door and drove me to get my car. That is like, I will be telling my grandkids.
It's the most positive experience. I mean,
literally.
Yeah.
The only other positive experience I ever had with a cop was when I was 9 years old and I called 911 because my dog was lost. And the cop, who's still friends with he's still he was part of the Lake Mary ecosystem outside of being a cop, I should say, and gave us his old dog. His old dog became our childhood dog, or our youth dog. And so those are the two only experiences. And the first one that I was mentioning that's about as... I can't think of anything I've gotten over on the law outside of that. This guy almost overthrew the government.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Intentional.
That's the problem. The problem
with malice and forethought.
I'm looking at this from the perspective of a normal person. Not just a normal person, a normal brown person. But all things considered, I mean, as soon as I open my mouth, I sound like a white guy. And in Sanford, generally speaking, I get treated like a white guy. But...
Oh, good for you.
I know, it's kind of nice, man.
Sanford's changed,
bro. It's because it's only because they're oh, that's the guy that DJs there. It's not because they're not my homies. They recognize who I am.
Gentrification is gentrification, man.
Exactly.
That's gonna.
But dude, I'll tell you, Sanford has changed from the last 15 years.
I'm about to say, listen, I've been rolling through Sanford about 30 years or so, and there was anyway, but no, so no, he was never going to see never going to see the inside of a jail cell. He was never going to get he's not even going to be they'll get an ankle monitor on him, I guess, and that'll be about as far as ever gets. It doesn't okay. Does he get an ankle monitor? He doesn't get an ankle monitor if he's the president. No. Well, and this was the thing, too, is even if you want to believe that they were going to actually convict him, they're not. But even if you thought they were actually going to get to the point where there is no mechanism for holding a president in, the best they could do from a reasonable perspective is put him up at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's it. Well, because how are you going to put a president in Gen Pop?
That would be amazing.
Oh no, it'd be great. I support it. I want to be very clear.
Pay for that pay-per-view.
I want to be very clear here too, because I don't want. I get this all the time. I'm sure you get the same thing, right? Where conservatives think I'm a liberal and liberals think I'm a conservative.
I am a bona fide leftist at this point.
Well, I am. I think y'all are fucking idiots, and that's really that's my entry point into all of this. So I want to make it very clear. Yeah. I'm anti all of you, but I do believe in a path forward. I can't go anarchy because anarchy is even dumber. So it doesn't make any sense, dude. You still need roads. You need bridges. Yes. Anarchy doesn't make any sense.
Okay, that's an oversimplification. It's not the point.
That's not the point.
That's not what we're doing here.
The point, yeah. So I mean, look, I would bet money. That let's assume that we get a best case scenario and Trump actually gets convicted and it holds up and all that stuff and he loses the presidential election so that he can't just pardon himself because that's obviously the next step.
Yeah.
But let's say he gets to that point, right? I got money that says Biden pardons him.
What?
Bet money.
Okay. Let's back this up a little bit because there's a couple of assumptions that you're making there. Number one, you're assuming that Biden isn't on his way out either naturally by natural causes or by
Biden and Trump are both on their way out of natural causes.
Yeah, okay, but
they're weekend at Bernie's. That son bitch on that debate floor.
But did we watch the debate?
I watched as much of it as I felt was absolutely necessary.
Me too.
And I already knew, it was like watching a show, like watching a sitcom. You know what I mean? Like, I already know what's going to happen here. Even if I haven't seen this episode, I've seen the other episodes, and they're not going to change this here. You know,
but this one was worse. There was the best way that I could explain it was, and I think the guys from Breaking Points made a great point about it, and it was the bar was low already. I was watching with the bar to the ground, and it was still.
They crawled underneath it.
Limbo.
Well, here's the deal, because you've got
is that the
limbo? Yeah. So on one hand, you've got like Biden's. Listen, dude, Biden's not aging great. I know it's important to remember these motherfuckers about the same. They're about the same age too. Let's not pretend like one of them young.
One's 5 minutes older. Yeah,
exactly. But I think because this guy comes back to this idea that I keep hearing, right? People like, well, I'm not going to vote, or equally bad, or whatever else. And let's be really clear. One is a doddering old man surrounded by mildly corrupt but competent bureaucrats.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So when he keels over, you won't notice.
Yes,
that's what I'm telling you right now. Now that still isn't good. But that's what's gonna happen. The other guy is an existential threat to democracy.
Yes.
So this is like they're not. One of them is a punch in the stomach. The other one's a bullet. You know.
Yes. That's the false equivalency is what infuriates me the most.
Yeah.
I am not saying that I'm going to vote for Biden.
Why not?
Because I am not saying that I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
I'm just not. There's not. I'm hoping for something else to happen between now and then.
Okay, there's. I'm sorry. Actually, you know what? But that is actually part of the reason I'm here, right? To tell you about. This why Trump I'll pause it like this. Here's why Trump winning the election. No, let me rephrase that. Here's why Trump coming to power. Because I don't actually see a way for him to legally and fairly win.
Okay.
He won't.
Okay.
He may still become president, but let's keep in mind, this man has never won the popular vote.
How do you suggest he becomes president if he doesn't win the election?
Oh, for election subversion all over the place. I mean, you're already seeing it, right? Let's take our own great state of Florida. Okay. We got DeSantis as our governor.
Yes.
For another 2 years before he. By the way, there are term limits in Florida. DeSantis. God, have we ever seen anyone trip over their dick as beautifully? Here's DeSantis. We're going to take can I take a step back?
Please.
DeSantis comes on the scene, and I, as a person of color, look at him and go, oh, shit. Here we've got somebody who's like, his old school, his original.
I'm sorry. I was about to go. You don't need to explain it to me. I'm like, no, you need to explain it for the audience.
Right. There was a video, there was a political ad for DeSantis when he was running his first term of him and his kid using those old school, cardboard bricks, like they use in preschools.
The MAGA one.
To build a wall together. It wasn't subtle, okay?
No,
my man was coming through saying, I'm on the Trump end of this thing. And Trump loved him, and they were doing great.
Slobbing on that.
All that man had to do was sit down and shut up until after this election cycle.
Yeah.
And he would have been it. He could have been Trump's VP pick.
100%.
He could have been.
I'm shocked. He
got cocky.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Because he hasn't. Has Trump decided?
Oh, he ain't going to take... No, listen, DeSantis already stabbed him in the back. And Trump ain't going to go back to DeSantis. There's zero chance.
He doesn't go back to people that stab him in the back?
He doesn't unless you're willing to get down on your knees and, let's say, beg. So,
Hawk Tua.
Yeah, but DeSantis ain't going to do that. He's not doing that. He's already he got pride and all this shit. Because if he'd have waited, he could have gotten there. Instead, when Trump was down, he decided to use this opportunity and pounce. And now he's lost. And now he's going to be done in 2026. And he's not going to have jack shit to do till 2028. And nobody's going to give a shit about him.
Well, at that point, you come out with a book
Yeah. I
do
mean,
the book circuit,
maybe he gets to become senator, but his chances. I mean, he did so badly in his bid for presidency that he's never. That was it. He blew his one shot, and I'm grateful for that.
Oh, me too. Because he's a smarter Trump. Essentially.
Smarter, yes, not smart.
No, I said smarter. Relative. It's relative.
But okay. So, but anyway, so here's why Trump getting elected is not having me sell my house and start looking for other spots.
Okay.
I don't mean like out of the country.
Yeah.
Here's what's coming.
I know what you meant.
Right. So Trump takes power either through gerrymandering, some election suppression, maybe some mild cooing,
Mild.
just some little like diet coup, like
diet Jan 6.
Exactly. Just like just a soupçon, just a sprinkle,
just a soupçon,
just a soupçon of coup, and he eventually gets there, right? So now comes in this thing called Project 2025.
Yeah, that's
so. If you're not familiar with Project 2025, actually, the best summary I can give you is actually to go on YouTube and find Last Week Tonight, John Oliver.
Yeah,
he did a thing on Project 2025 that sums it up brilliantly.
Okay, give us the cliff notes.
But here's the important part. What Project 2025 is from the Heritage Foundation, which is evil.
Yes.
And so basically what they looked around and they said, why wasn't Trump more successful? Well, because Trump got into the White House and had no goddamn idea what he was doing. And the people around him didn't know what they were doing. And so when you become president, there's all of these presidential appointees that you've got to make.
Yes.
We're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of appointments that the president makes. And obviously he doesn't make them directly. He has people and those people put in other people. But a lot of times if you work under the previous administration, you're just out of job, but not always. Because if you're not in a politically sensitive spot, a lot of times the political appointees will just go back, or they'll go back with the next time the administration comes in, or they'll get hired on as a consultant. They'll still kind of stay around in that world because they've got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And you don't really care when you're getting down to like, how are we going to handle Health and Human Services undersecretaries, one of their underlings, like, bro, there's nothing political here. You're not becoming senator from this position.
Sure.
But it would be helpful if you knew where this stuff was and how this works. So you have all these political appointees that the president makes. Well, Trump didn't even make them all over the course of time.
No.
Like he could. There was too many. They didn't know what to do. So what Project 2025 said is, okay, we got you. So you can now apply for a job with Project 2025, not to go work for them, but to be trained and ready to go to fill one of those thousands of political vacancies.
Oh my God!
The second that he hits the thing. So they've got a plan for Trump. Like, here's exactly what we're going to do from the jump.
So and can you explain the relationship between the Heritage Foundation and Trump specifically? Because it's a conservative. That's an old conservative. PAC. Are they a PAC?
Yeah, well, they're a think tank.
A think tank.
But Heritage Foundation is the one up front, but Project 2025 encompasses every single group of like political thinkers that would like me and you to maybe live together on a farm and spend our days picking, I don't know, some kind of crop.
Got it.
Or something along those lines.
Got it.
I'm sure they would also be fine with us cleaning.
Cleaning. Cleaning. Oh, well, at least they're versatile.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some other labor something. Anyway, the point is, there are a bunch of racist, white supremacist, terrifying groups that have that very nice faux like presentation.
Sure.
And there's a whole bunch of them. But the insidious part isn't that. I mean, that's actually pretty normal. Most folks don't need an entire project because most presidents come in with a whole bunch of bureaucrats that are like, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you who to put in here. And the president goes, all right, great.
Yeah.
But what they want to do here, and where Project 25 really gets insidious, is that they would then like to reclassify a whole bunch of the folks that are not political appointees to become political appointees.
Oh.
So all of your career folks would now become political appointees that could be replaced by these people who are applying, because a presidential appointment is just that. Like, there is nothing stopping President Joe Biden from declaring you the Secretary of State aside from the congressional approval. Like, you have to go through that, and the 3 or 4 tangents he would go about, Yeah. And really, actually, we don't really have a terribly bad... Anyway, the point is, like... The danger here, though, is that this, number one, makes all of this stuff political. Yeah. And number two, means that you're losing all of the competent people. Because when you get down to, like, who's going to decide how much poison is allowed in the drinking water... That's not something you want a political appointee doing. That's somebody you want who has been doing that job for 25 years and has a lot of education and experience in that.
Yes.
That's not a political appointee.
No.
When we're trying to figure out, like the one that John Oliver uses that I think is really important too, NOAA tracks climate change. They track hurricanes. Mm-hmm. And that's not, you don't want the guys in charge of that as political appointees. You really want the professionals there, but they're going to wipe the board. Also part of Project 2025 is they want to dismantle a lot of federal agencies. The Department of Education, Department of, I think NOAA's on their list. They want to take apart all of these. So this combined with, of course, Trump famously having said, I don't know famously because he says so much crazy shit, but one of the things that he said recently was that he would be a dictator on day one, but just for a day. Just for day one, because that's how power works. That's how the United States works.
Insane.
So all of this makes a lot of people very concerned.
Yes.
Here's why you don't need to be as concerned. You should be concerned.
I'm concerned.
It's not. Here's why it's not the end of the country. It actually. So my son is 11 years old. He's a sweet kid.
Yes.
Occasionally dumb as a box of rocks, but he's a good kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes he comes to me and he says, Dad, I want to go buy this thing on Roblox. Okay. This little video game system.
Yeah.
And he wants to spend a bunch of his money on this thing on Roblox. And I said to him, don't do that. You're not going to be happy with that purchase. No, I want to do it, Dad. Dad. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. And I fight with him back and forth. He wants
of course.
It was like $40 on something on Roblox, right? Like for
These
him.
games are getting ridiculous.
No, it wasn't even for a game. It was for an add-on for a game.
To the game. Yeah.
And I'm like, you've been playing this game for fucking 2 days. You're going to not be playing it 2 days from now, but he wants to spend basically like 80% of his money on this one thing. And so eventually I had to stop and I had to say, you know what? Yes, you can do this. I already know how it's going to go, but at least now when you waste 80% of your available funds, you're going to do it in a safe environment so that when it happens, you're not going to end up destitute. Like if I blew 80% of my funds on something bad, we would be homeless. Mm-hmm. And I would be homeless because my wife would divorce me. She'd probably figure it out. Yeah. And I think, here's the thing. We keep being asked if we can do a fascism. They want to do a fascism so very badly.
They so want to do a fascism.
They want to do a fascism so bad. And so at a certain point, they're going to do a fascism either way.
Oh, so you're saying just let them do a fascism.
Controlled explosion. Here's why.
Okay.
Despite what it looks like, we are, when you look at the numbers and such, we're doing fine as a country. I know that we hear a lot of the political division. I know we see a lot of the terrible things. There are absolutely war crimes happening, both in and outside of our country, that the United States has blood on its hands for. I'm not saying things are good.
Okay, I'm just making sure that we're on the same page and we're reading the same news and
absolutely
experiencing the same reality.
But here's the key piece. You know, like a lot of leftists are talking about pulling out the guillotine, right? And the wage, how the inequality gap, wealth inequality gap right now is larger than it was during the French Revolution.
Sure. Yeah.
But do you know why there aren't guillotines being pulled out into the streets?
Because the manufacturers aren't making them because they're not.
No.
There's more efficient ways of doing it.
Well, yes, but the guillotine wasn't just about efficiency.
It was about showmanship. Absolutely.
It was about showmanship.
Absolutely. The guillotine was about showmanship.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
You know what? That's going to be the name of the episode.
It's about showmanship. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. The reason, though, is that the difference between the France in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and today is that, like, we still got food. We've still got places to live. Like, the gap is bigger, but the bottom is still holding. And as long as the bottom holds, it's not going to happen.
This reminds me of the old Al Sterling seal of good enough.
Yeah. The sterling seal of good enough is a time-honored tradition in my family.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying. Like, and so this is why, like, right now, if they were successful and they were to take apart NOAA and the Department of Education, all this stuff, it would be really, really bad. But what they're going to basically do is really inconvenience a bunch of middle class and upper middle class white people.
Wait.
What they're going to do is they're going to make it very hard for rich people to make more money. Like, some rich people will make a lot more money.
A lot.
But do you know the best thing to stop a rich white person? Well, a bullet. But another...
I'm glad
I know. I wanted to say it for you. Another rich white person. You need the systems in conflict. You need these in competition. Like this, and if you start to install the stuff, it's not going to work because, and this is very important, their ideas are really stupid.
Oh, so stupid.
And if this were 2008, 2009, if there were, like, people were losing their homes and everybody, like, all of that stuff, like, you're starting to get to the spot where the ground is going to be fertile enough for a really good fascism to take place.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just not there, man. Look, the housing market, it's not going to collapse.
Are you saying they're pulling the fascism fruit before it's ripe?
Yes, they absolutely are. And it would be much better for them to pull it when it's not ripe. Now, I want to be very clear. It's going to suck. It is going to suck. They are evil people. They're flat out evil people doing evil shit.
Yes.
But if they're going to do it anyway, I'd prefer they do it when it's absolutely not going to work rather than wait for the economy to collapse or something else along those lines, because what they're going to do there is they're going to finally sully their own name, because that's what we need. We need for them to destroy themselves.
We need for them to be so unbelievably bad that they end up shooting themselves in the foot, essentially.
Yeah, but they have to... I mean, they've been that bad for a long time.
Yeah.
They have to piss off the comfortable. That's what you need. Trump's base is a bunch of angry people, and the ones that are really out there, like, showing up, the ones that are dying at the rallies and all of that stuff, those aren't rich, comfortable people.
Those are the desperate...
Those are the deeply disturbed, deeply sad, deeply angry, deeply whatever. You're like those folks. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all idiots. I'm not saying that they're all poor. I'm saying that there's a lot of people who are voting for him for a lot of other reasons. But like his really truly passionate base are made up of folks that are deeply sad or angry about something.
If you make over a certain amount a year, I could see the logic behind voting that way.
Oh yeah.
But that number is upwards of 500,000.
Yeah, I mean, I would say higher than that, to be honest with you. But yeah, well, and I think that's really, I mean, and this is where it comes back to selfishness, right?
Sure.
Because the thing that Trump does very, very well at the way that you do any of this stuff is you got to start with othering.
Yeah.
You've got to,
for sure.
You want your through line from here to Israel.
Yep.
The first thing you have to do is convince that there's those people and there's us.
Yeah, don't get me started on how they don't see the fucking irony.
That's the first step. And so Trump is very effective at that. With a particular group of people, but that doesn't work if those people are happy and fulfilled and comfortable.
Yeah,
the people that are voting for Trump right now that are happy and fulfilled and comfortable are folks that are just getting their news from Fox News. They're getting their they've managed to put themselves in their little bubble. Well, nothing Trump does is going to pop that bubble. Trump is immune from all of this stuff.
So this was the.
I don't want to be clear. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm voting for Biden. I'm not happy about that.
Okay, but so that's my problem. And here's I think this might be where you and I because there is am I going to vote for Biden in November if nothing changes? I guess.
Let's be real clear here. If you don't vote for Biden, if you choose to not vote or vote third party, as far as I am concerned, and I'm speaking as a historian. I'm speaking as like somebody who just despises all of this. if you don't do it and Trump wins, you are just as culpable as somebody who voted for Trump. I would draw the line here. I know everybody was like Clinton and Trump and Hillary Clinton, but it's the same thing. Everybody's like, oh, whatever. Yeah. But here's the deal. Like, I'd forgive somebody that voted for Trump back in 2016.
I voted for Johnson. I voted third party for Johnson.
There was a lot of us. When he won, thought, well, maybe this won't be so bad. I didn't vote for him, but I thought maybe this won't be so bad.
And then you were wrong.
It was much worse, although not as bad as some people thought, but much worse than I was hoping for. And
how much worse do you want it than a global pandemic like that?
I mean,
he shot the bed in.
Yes, he did. But we're not going to get into the COVID stuff because I will get in trouble for that. Okay. Here's what I will tell you: for the most part, the folks like there's the sick and the vulnerable and whatever else, and the overwhelmed hospitals and whatever else.
Yeah.
But like, if you were paying attention and listening, and you followed the directions, not his directions. If you followed the directions and used a lot of stuff, you got vaccinated as soon as you could. You did all of those types of things. You ended up doing okay.
More or less, yes.
Some folks didn't get lucky, and those deaths are on his head.
Yes.
Those are absolutely on his head. Mm-hmm. But I was prepared for World War III. That's where I was, and we came like within a hair's breadth of it several times. But luckily, I think what we will find out in about 50 years, I probably won't be around for this, but in 50 to 100 years, we're going to find out that the details around, there was a story that kind of just slid across the news about a general telling him no. A military general telling Trump no and refusing to do something that Trump was asking about. Now,
what was that thing?
We don't know, and there's a lot of speculation and whatever else. And even that story doesn't have enough facts behind it for me to go out and proclaim it.
Okay.
But there's enough little bits and pieces that make me think that at some point Trump told a general to do something and that general told him no. And I think that right there was the line. I could be wrong. I was not in the Oval Office. But all of that...
It's a really short list of the people that could say no to him.
Yes. Well, anybody can say no to him. But, yeah. Anyway, so January 6th, all this stuff. At this point, he's an existential threat to democracy. Like, that's not an exaggeration. Okay. That's just... No, that's it.
All right. But my when we were on the phone, you said there was an upside to 2020 to Project 2025.
Oh, because it's not. Because it will. Right now, we have the sort of Damocles hanging over our heads.
Yes.
Okay, and we have since 2016, it was like really there. Mm-hmm. But that sword has been moving inexorably closer to us since about 90. I would say 96 to 98, sometime around Newt Gingrich is when that really started to come. Because what happened is the Republicans changed how they were playing the game. They were banging up against the Democrats, and they were coming out with basically a stalemate. And eventually Republicans said, well, what if we stopped doing that? What if we changed the rules of our game? What if we changed our approach? And they've been wildly successful at it, despite their wild incompetence. And Democrats have never gone around to do it. You want to know how you beat it? I'll tell you exactly.
How do you beat it? And how long? And more importantly, this good news that we're waiting for, how long till...
that was the good news, man.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the good news is if Project 2025 comes to pass, they're going to try a fascism. The good news is it'll fail, and it'll take about 5 to 10 years for it to run its course, and then we'll be good. I'm a historian, man. I take a long view, okay?
5 to 10 years?
Yeah. Here's what you do, though. Here's when I am leaving the country. Okay. Because I know a lot of folks talk about doing whatever else, but I've looked at my wife and said, this is when we're leaving. What should really scare everyone is not Trump. Trump's going to die sooner or later. I was really hoping that he and Biden would have matching heart attacks on stage.
Oh God, if only.
On stage together and just live on TV.
Yeah.
Because I need them both to go at once.
Yeah.
I need it to be very clear. I don't want a Tupac Biggie thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want them both simultaneously. So if it was foul play, it was somebody who was on both, who went after both of them.
Yep.
Great. Like, I don't care about that. But
speaking of coronavirus, Jesus.
So what should scare everybody, and why worry about here is if you get a young, attractive, charismatic Trump. Because what Trump and this group has done mostly is clear the land. They have normalized a lot of behaviors. They have taken over and gutted the power of a lot of the checks and balances. They've done a whole bunch of land clearing, but the land is just sitting there. Currently, there's nobody really there that can really take advantage of this gaping hole in our democracy. But if somebody young, handsome, charming, and evil comes in,
he will use the hell out of that gaping hole.
Why? I mean, absolutely. And here, I mean, you need like a JFK. You need like an Obama.
Oh yeah,
you need somebody that's like that amount, like a really eloquent speaker, intelligent, well spoken.
Yeah.
You need somebody who checks those boxes and is also evil. That's when the second that one shows up, I'm not waiting for them to get elected. I'm gonna start. But Project 2025, if it goes through and if we're successful and whatever else, it's going to kind of salt the land. It's going to ruin it. It's going to ruin fascism for another probably 25, 30 years.
25, 30 years.
Yeah, it'll be a whole generation before another group is willing to try fascism again.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, it lasted, we lasted how long?
What, since we had our last real true fascist?
True fascist.
Oh, the United States has never seen one.
I mean...
We haven't. We have had.
What are your thoughts on the idea that we don't have a left-wing party?
We don't.
Okay.
No, we absolutely don't. Okay. No, this isn't even. No, listen. Our Republican parties is like if we step back and we get away from the American political system, and
it's fascism.
We use a traditional European parliamentary system as an equivalent. So we compare apples to apples here.
Yeah.
Yes, the Republican Party are fascists. They're not as there are parties farther right, but not a lot of them. So our Democratic Party is right of center.
Right of center. That's what I've heard, and that's what I thought.
Your flaming liberals, your Bernie Sanders, your AOC, barely left of center.
Okay, so I would probably consider myself left of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, there's most of Europe is left of that.
Yeah,
most of Canada is left of.
Okay,
most Western democracies
are even further left than AOC or Bernie.
Because look, here's the thing: until you get to, I mean, eventually, I know we talk about it on a line, but really, it's a circle, and actually, it's a sphere, and we don't think about these things.
When you move far enough left, you do get your guns back.
Yes, yeah. Well, until you talk about seizing the means of production, which is also stupid. Like it doesn't. That's also dumb. Like
what do you like? So communism is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, communism, degrees of socialism. You start to get to inevitably what's going to happen here is that if you go far enough on either side, a small group of rich people control everything.
Okay.
The only difference here is what kind of language they have to couch it in.
Okay. So and we're definitely speaking more broadly here, but as far as I've moved far enough left that if it's something that requires if you require it for survival, it should not be it should be easily attainable, very, very easily attainable.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned this too. Even you actually want to talk about a Republican darling, a guy named Thomas Sowell. I've never actually had to say his name out loud before. He is a black economist who was popular in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And Republicans love him because he had hyper-conservative capitalistic ideologies, and he was one of the blacks. So they were very
happy about their blacks.
Oh my God, they love, and you'll still hear them talk about this guy all the time. And even this hyper-conservative guy still said that there were 4 areas that should never be for profit: military, medical. I wasn't prepared to write this down.
Education,
military, medical, education, and there's one more like
housing.
Housing.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah, like
that's me.
This is an ultra conservative.
That's me, 100%.
And he actually argued for a lot of what was really progressive, would be really considered wildly progressive stuff. He actually also argued for an adjustable rate. Basically, what he said was, here's the poverty line. Let's say the poverty line is $40,000 a year. Okay. What he said is you should pay taxes on everything above $40,000. But if you make less than $40,000, the government should send you money to until you get to $40,000. So if you made $35,000, the government should send you $5,000. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a big fan of his. He had a lot of other stuff that's wildly evil and completely moronic.
Okay.
But
so far you're selling me.
He had some really good points, and then a bunch of other really, really bad ideas.
Yeah, it sounds like a very conservative beat.
But can you imagine that idea coming up today?
Oh my God!
Your farthest. I mean, Bernie Sanders might go along with that.
Well, you had what's his name? The Asian guy.
Oh yeah.
He was all about the UBI.
Yeah, and this is effectively what UBI would be.
Yeah.
Like, this is the version of UBI that would make the most sense. Yeah, libertarians are big on this guy too.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like a negative income tax.
That's the thing. So like when I wasn't, because I moved left. I mean, it's hilarious. My little sister Sally, she started listening to old Hijack episodes and old Irreverent episodes, and she was like, oh my God, dude! Like, I didn't know you were this conservative. Like, this is a completely different person.
Dude, I voted for W.
Yeah, me too.
Twice.
Me too.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sold on gay marriage in 2000, and now to say that my views have shifted is an understatement.
So the thing is that, like, I think that you and I went like we were on the same, and then like you went left, and then I'm just like,
here's the thing. I didn't go left or right. I went like diagonal. You want to know?
Yeah, give me some examples of how.
So here's the thing. Limited government, because the problem was you go farther left is the government gets bigger and bigger.
Sure,
that's not good. Sure. The Republicans are also doing big government, so that's fucking stupid. Yeah. But really, what you need here in order for this system to work is the system needs to be in tension. Okay. There needs to be tension. What we really need is a getting away from first past the post voting, so that you get to a truly parliamentary system, so that there are 7 or 8 parties, and representation is based upon how the votes go all the way around. This is what you see in Europe all the time, where there's like, you have to have a coalition of like 4 or 5 different political parties to get together to form a majority so they can form a government. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you need to do. We have the oldest. We have guaranteed one of the oldest constitutions still in existence. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Like, we were one of the first, and we're one of the only ones who's still using the original document. We've tacked on a handful of amendments and called it a day.
Like 27 of them?
Yeah. Everybody else has grabbed our constitution when they were going to make theirs, grabbed ours and said, this is a great starting point. And they changed.
Yeah.
And so that's where all of these other ones pulled off of us.
We're pulling up a template on Microsoft. And then just hitting print. All right, create this country.
Yeah, like, and there's you know what's funny too? You want something wild here. Everybody tells you read the Constitution,
Sure.
Do you want to know what section of the Constitution nobody bothers to mention? The part about slaves. But the other part
yeah.
Like, and there's a lot in there about slaves. But the other part
I have not read it, believe it or not.
I reread it recently, actually, because I was curious about this.
You reread? You're such a dork.
I am a goddamn nerd. There is a clause in there for how to call a new constitutional convention. And here's the crazy part. It's very easy. you and I could call a constitutional convention.
Let's do it now.
We can, and it will. Obviously, nobody's going to come and nobody's going to care.
Okay.
But
well,
the important part here is that calling a constitutional convention is ridiculously easy. Do you know why they made it ridiculously easy?
Because they didn't have podcasts.
Because they didn't expect the thing to last this long. They talk about the Constitution and the amendments as if it was the goddamn gospel, and it's not. They put it together and they're like, listen, this will get us through, because everybody's like, all of this falls apart because slavery is eventually going to ruin everything. So until we deal with slavery, here's something to get us there. And then the idea would have been, afterwards, we would have a new constitution that left out all the things about slavery and figured out what else we needed to do. Like, that was supposed to be the plan, and it didn't.
So everybody else has updated their shit except for us.
Yeah, well, everybody else just started with they looked at ours because the whole thing. I mean, look, there's a lot of
countries. I guess you're saying.
What's that?
Are you saying the younger countries, or are you saying
no? These countries that moved to a constitutional democracy or constitutional republic, really.
Okay, yeah.
After us.
So,
which is all of Europe.
Okay.
Remember, there was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, they were all kings and queens. That was all part of our beef.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did have that beef, didn't we?
But not just Europe.
I forgot Europe. I'm going back over there because this place is shit now.
Dude, Portugal actually is one of the easier countries to immigrate to from the United States.
Really?
Just FYI.
I mean, I think my grandfather or great grandfather's from Spain.
Yeah, you're not. Spain would work. Don't listen. I'm just gonna tell you guys right now. I know a lot of y'all be eyeballing Australia and New Zealand. You're not getting in. I'm just telling you right now. Unless you are a medical professional, your odds of them being willing to take you on a permanent basis or rich. Everything's easier if you're rich.
Yeah.
Your odds aren't great, man. EU is probably your better bet. Personally, I like Costa Rica, maybe Thailand, but
Costa Rica's cool.
Costa Rica's great. I'm not sure how they'll do with the water levels rising, but I'm in Florida, so what the fuck do I know? But that update, the first thing that happened, I mean, is this delineation and this creation of the political parties. It happens during George Washington's first term in office. This is the thing that Hamilton, while not historically accurate, Hamilton gets a couple key things right. The creation of the political parties and Jefferson being an absolute piece of dog shit are two of the main things that it gets really, really correct.
Also, everybody rapped. No.
Also, dude, they all owned slaves, man, and they knew they shouldn't. Like, they knew better. Like Washington, George Washington gets a lot of credit for he freed his slaves when he died. Dude, that's not the.
Welcome to the Hijack episode. Al ruins everything.
Oh my God, I got so many. But no, you want to hear how the Democrats can win? I want to say how the Democrats can win.
Tell me how the Democrats can win. Because taking Biden out is
yeah, he's got to step down.
Yeah, step down.
He's got to step down. But that is. Hang on, I want to make sure because I took notes on this shit.
Hey, there we go.
Where'd my notes go? Blah 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 blah. There it is. Okay, here's how they win. First, we got to understand here that Republicans changed the game, right? I told you, they changed the game. They're playing the different rules, and the Democrats have never adapted.
Correct.
They are still playing 1996 rules, and they're just getting creamed. And it is it is insane that they have managed to stay as relevant as they have. But here's what happened: Biden's got to step down or just keel over and die. He's got to no longer be.
Yeah.
And this is not going to happen. But what they need to do at that point is they need to bring in Jasmine Crockett. Do you know who this is?
No.
This is she's famous.
Davy's wife?
She's the bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Remember her? She's the one who said it.
Dude, she's awesome.
There, you just did it. Now you're getting it.
Oh,
okay.
Let
me tell you just a tiny bit about Jasmine Crockett.
Oh,
Jasmine Crockett is 41 years old. She is young. She looks young.
She's black.
Because black don't crack.
Yeah.
She is from Texas. She's out of the House of Representatives in Texas. Okay? So what you have here is a smart, because you should hear it, you listen to this woman speak. She is intelligent. She's articulate. She's well-spoken. She has time for exactly none of your shit.
Yeah.
She's charismatic as fuck. She is, and she knows how to respond to all of the Trump tactics, which is to turn around and smack him in the goddamn mouth.
Dude, that was we need more people like her.
And this is what I'm talking about. Now, here's the thing.
God damn it, you sold me. You're good at this.
And here's in this scenario, the big thing that would have to happen, though, and what's going to absolutely stop all of this is that the establishment Democrats would have to get the fuck out the way.
Oh yeah, no, that's not happening.
And that's the problem, because Democrats are a bunch of goddamn losers.
Well, they're not going to move. This is the problem with our system, is that these people, they're ancient. And how do you feel about boomers as a generation? As a generation, not individuals. Chill out, boomers.
I mean, as a generation, we got to talk about them, and I think there's a problem with discussing a large group of people like this as a monolith. Like,
what? There's a problem putting people together? No.
Just wildly based off of one single demographic point of information. But
it's more than that. For me, here's my argument against that. Because unlike when it comes to, race or time, like when it comes to time of birth, there are things that the boomers could have done to help us. As a
absolutely.
Generation. Like I think that at the very least they were a selfish and careless generation.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Everybody tends to think that everyone else is like them. Yeah. And that everybody has the same experiences. So You're absolutely right. Like this whole thing, and when they grew up and all of the advantages that they have that they don't want to admit that they had, all that stuff,
so
absolutely toxic, and it's absolutely a problem. And what's more, they're not leaving. Because
that's the biggest problem.
They're also benefiting from the fact that they have access to much better medicine over the last 50 years or so.
Yeah.
So now they can live and do things a lot longer. You weren't supposed to be able to maintain a 4-hour erection at 65. That just wasn't normal, and now it's available over the counter. There's a whole bunch of that shit. So yes, absolutely. But the problem is, even though I think where I start to get a little concerned is we just say it'll be better when the boomers die off. No, it's not.
No, because they've already indoctrinated a bunch of other people that think like them.
Right. You got
the
Gen
Matt
Xers
Gaetzes of this world.
Right. You've got Gen Xers. You've got millennials.
Millennials even more, because millennials are like you have again the Matt Gaetzes of this world. God. By the way, you want to hear something weird? The other day, I get a follow on my IG from Joel Greenberg.
Ooh, wow.
He's in the Fed for he's got.
I'll say I didn't know he had access to social media.
Yeah. And here's the best part. I'm like, there's got to be something. No, one of my old producers, Diddy, texted me, and he's like, "Hey, Joel is texting me."
I'm sorry. Back up. What's your producer's name?
Oh God, Diddy, you're gonna need to change your name, bro.
Diddy,
I just
Diddy. I don't know who the fuck you are, but my man, you need to choose a new nom de plume. Okay, your moniker needs to adjust.
He's our late homie, Jason's best friend.
Oh,
yeah. He's one of the best producers I ever worked with.
I'm sure he's incredible. I don't mean this as a slight on him. No, I'm just saying, my man. Because things for Diddy are not going to be getting better.
And Diddy is a producer too, just a different
exactly.
Kind.
This wasn't producer. Like my masseuse Diddy. No. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that must be like
that would be weird.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe the man's talented with his hands. I don't know the man. But all I'm saying is it's time to adjust.
That's true. But anyway, why did we bring up Diddy?
Because for some reason you're talking to Joel Greenberg.
No, I wasn't talking. Because he also worked with him. He goes, hey man, and I guess like he's talking about how he's innocent and like how anyway. So I was added by Greenberg, and I guess if you're listening,
you said a little too close to too many corrupt politicians, my man.
Hey, listen, I was not. I was just. I happened to be on my way out of the conservative Republican parties right around the time that this stuff was blowing up.
Yeah, I mean,
so I was doing one of those numbers. You ever see that?
The explosion thing where you're running from. Yeah. Because you don't get. You be very careful. You don't want to know that stink on you, man.
One of the guys from the Miami Herald called me. It was right before I left for Halloween a few years ago. And he calls me and he's like, "Hi, were you the old producer for Joel Greenberg?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I'm the guy that broke the story about all of the stuff that I was like, yeah, what's going on?" And he's like, "Well, do you have anything that you would want to say about it?" I was like, not really. It's like, would you have any inclination that he might have done it? I was like, listen, man, because he was asking me a bunch of stuff, and I wasn't gonna like say anything, but I was like, look, if you called me today and said that Joel Greenberg hacked into the FBI system and wired a bunch of money somewhere, I'd say you're full of shit because he doesn't have the ability to do that. When you tell me that he did the things that you said that he did, I'm not saying that he did those things, but I wouldn't. It's not like it's completely out of like. I wouldn't be completely shocked.
Yeah, it doesn't. But would he if he could? I think is the
and the answer to that is clearly anyway. So shout out Joel Greenberg.
So what I'm saying here though is Crockett.
Yes,
that's your way out. If the Democrats, because the most beautiful thing about Crockett is that she will infuriate the right.
Oh yeah, dude.
And that is what the left keeps trying to avoid. They keep trying to play nice, and they have to stop playing nice.
Yeah, they really do.
Like in combat, the aggressor makes the rules. You either fight by them or you die by them.
Yep.
And currently, the only reason the Democrats are still drawing breath is there's enough people horrified by it to vote for this to hold their nose and check the box.
Yep.
Because what's my other fucking option?
What
here?
is exactly? Well, but that's my problem. Like, how do we get out of this cycle if in November we still have the corpse and the slightly younger corpse, but is a criminal? Like when we have that choice,
you vote for the corpse. You vote for Joe Biden. Like this is not a.
But to what end? What do we do? Okay, so all right, fine. I vote for him in 2024. What next? What's the next plan? Because I refuse. I will tell you this. I'm not going to say I'm not going to vote for Biden in November. But what I will say is I refuse to vote for Biden unless there is a clear direction that gets us the hell out of whatever nightmare we're going to be in for the next 4 years.
Or what?
Or you're going to hear it from me, dude.
I'm with you. Like, this system sucks. And the problem that you've got mostly here, look, whether you're talking about the United States, you talk about the war in Ukraine, you talk about Israel and Palestine, you talk about corruption or government or whatever else you want to do. In the end, there is always a handful of rich, evil, powerful assholes that have a vested interest in whatever is happening continuing to happen. Period. And here is no different.
This is very defeatist.
Well, you want like the thing that would have to happen here. I mean, if you wanted to pick one cause to get behind, if you wanted to champion something,
yes,
you champion first getting rid of first past the post voting. You champion the
ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice.
Yeah.
Ranked choice. If ranked choice exists, then multiple parties exist. More than two parties exist.
Okay.
The second you get that. That changes literally everything.
That is the answer that I was looking for.
Yeah, ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting. So we vote for Biden this 4 years, and then between now and the next 4 years, ranked choice voting is the thing that we.
Yeah, Maine's already doing it. You can see Florida is currently fighting against it because of course they are.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that stops them. There's nothing that would stop it from going the other way. You know, like all of that stuff. So as soon as you start to get ranked choice voting and you start to fracture out to more than two parties, a lot of the problems that we're currently facing go away.
What does that look like? Let's say November happens, we have ranked choice voting nationwide.
So ranked choice voting, what ranked choice voting is basically going to say is that you've got. Well, and let me also back up. There's a few versions of ranked choice voting. I'm going to talk about.
Like there would be.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about what I think is the one that I would prefer.
Okay.
There are other valid versions of this, but basically what happens
here.
This
one is mine.
Right. Let's say your choices are Trump, Biden, Zouain, and I. Okay, yes. We're your four choices. All right.
Oh, so dude, we should do it.
What you then do is you number them 1 through 4 rather than picking your top, and you don't have to vote for any of them. Okay. So you'd say like Zouain 1, Al 2, Biden 3, and you just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So what'll happen here is that when they gather up all of the votes, they'll say, okay, everybody, let's see, Al, if we look at everybody who put Al as 1, Zouain is 1. Zouain only got 18% of the vote. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. All of those votes for Zouain are gone. And everybody who voted for Zouain, we're going to look at their number 2.
Okay.
And so then we're going to take their number 2. Now, perhaps when they take the number 2 spot, when you put down me as your number 2, I now have 51% of the vote.
Yeah.
Now I win.
Now you're the president.
Versus whatever. Like,
I expect a cushy job.
Absolutely, man. Listen, right. I'm not above corruption.
Okay. I'm just making sure that we're on the same page.
The thing is, I'm going to do like a lot of our country is doing right now. I'm going to legalize the corruption.
Exactly.
That's how you get away with it. Ask Thomas, man. Like, just legalize the corruption and boom, no problem.
There it is.
So ranked choice allows you to basically, the other version of this is to say, another very common version of this is to say, all right, we did this. Nobody got over 50%. So the bottom only got 8%. So the bottom percent, that one's done. Everybody go back to the polls.
Okay.
And we're just going to keep eliminating the bottom until we get to somebody clearing 50%. You have to do a lot of multiple elections there. There's some other pieces I don't like.
That's a lot of,
It's not uncommon, though. I think that's the way it's done in several parts of Europe. But then these parties, as you vote here, those parties then determine the makeup of Congress and the makeup of Congress, because there's this many seats that went to the Republicans, this many seats went to the Green Party, this many seats went to the Libertarians, and yada, yada, yada. So nobody has any chance of actually carrying a majority. So now you've got to start talking to each other, because otherwise none of you are going to get anything done.
But I and here's my cynicism coming in. I feel like after a while, and this is why the next thing to change is term limits.
Actually, no.
No?
Nope. I know term limits are real popular. I don't think term limits are the way to go.
Okay.
Let me tell you why.
All right.
September 12th, 2001.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember that day.
Not a positive day for a lot of people.
Nope. 3,000 people, they just didn't have a day.
Exactly. September 12th, 2001.
Yeah.
You really want a bunch of seasoned professionals in the room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. What you do to fix this, because I get the problem with the term limits, of course, is they're a bunch of corrupt fucks, right? Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
President's got term limits. That needs to stay. The House of Representatives has 435 people in it that have to vote. That's a shit show. Mm-hmm. It is designed intentionally to be a shit show. It's not supposed to be efficient. It's also why all of the financial laws are supposed to come out of that 435 person shit show.
When you say they, can we put a face, or like, because when we say it was designed to be a shit show, who designed it? Who is the great?
I mean, our Constitutional Convention. Actually, a lot of it goes back to Hamilton. Not all of it, but a big chunk of it goes back to Hamilton. They pulled a bunch of stuff in from the Greeks, and then you have all of those founding father folks that got together, which is more than like there was.
So you're saying that these guys maliciously said, this is let's make it into a shit show.
Well, yes, but I don't mean, but shit show's not necessarily a bad thing, because here's the thing: like the House of Representatives is designed to represent the people. Okay. And it is supposed to be a chaotic mess, because one of the things that the founding fathers disliked strongly was they were afraid of mob rule, of mobocracy is the term that's coined there, because they said the mob is fickle and the mob is stupid and easily duped and easily misdirected. And so we need to make sure, while we need to give them a voice, we need to curb their power.
Sure.
And so they said, House of Representatives, go nuts. And all financial legislation will come out of there, because if you 435 assholes if half of you can agree on what's supposed to happen, on where money should get spent, or when, then all right. Now the Senate is supposed to be where everything calms the fuck down. This is where we have two reps per state, as opposed to based on your population in the House of Representatives. Sure. So you could get this, all that stuff. Yeah. So the senators there are supposed to be the cooling, calm, like stately influence. They're supposed to be the ones that are kind of taking a longer view. Okay. And so the thing here is not the term limits. What needs to go back is actually we need to repeal the
Citizens United.
Well, among a lot of other things. But what needs to change here, though, is that the senators were originally not directly elected. We did that with the 17th Amendment.
Okay.
The 17th Amendment does direct election of senators. So you and I are voting for whether or not we want, what's the snake dude? I can't remember his name.
The snake dude?
Yeah.
Conehead?
Yeah, the bald dude. Was like Rick Scott.
Rick Scott, yeah.
Like,
the snake dude.
He looks like he's about to swallow a mouse.
He looks like a conehead. Every time I see him, I think of coneheads.
Oof. But like the idea here is that we are not supposed to be electing him.
Correct.
We are supposed to be electing state legislatures who then elect him. Yeah. Because that's actually what holds them accountable. It's not term limits out of the issue. It's the lack of accountability.
So, wait. I still... So, ranked choice voting and then...
Direct election of senators.
Direct election of senators would be the two things. Where does Citizens United fall into this? Because, like, that's where all the money is.
Citizens United could be fixed by the Congress, and it wouldn't even be hard. This Chevron case, which we haven't even gotten to.
No, yeah, we haven't, when we need to.
Like, there's all of the Roe v. Wade, all of these horrific shit that is coming down from the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Listen.
The Supreme Court doesn't write the law. The Supreme Court says whether or not a law is constitutional. And whether or not a law breaks the law, whether or not something breaks the Constitution, or how a law should be, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, Congress could fix most of this stuff in an afternoon if they really wanted to.
And they don't because...
Why would they? Because there's no accountability. Because everything's done like along partisan lines.
I've gone from being hopeful to hopeless to hopeful to hopeless like 17 times.
Yeah, dude, listen, I did that on the drive over. Like, yeah, I'm good.
What's the story with this Chevron thing?
Okay. All right, let's talk about now. Chevron's scary. Chevron is, I think, the most of all the things that are currently worth being worried about as an American, here in our own country.
Yeah,
Chevron should absolutely be the one you are freaking out about.
Yeah.
So backing up here, the case originally was Chevron USA Incorporated versus the National Resource Defense Council.
Yes.
Okay? And so basically what this law said was that you have your three branches, right? You have judicial, legislative, executive. Judicial decides whether or not a law is constitutional.
Yep.
And interpret the courts, whatever. The legislative passes the laws. That's where Congress sits. Your president's on the executive branch.
Yep.
The president executes the laws, which is why we need to remember the president can't pass a law. The president can't write a law. The president can't submit a law.
Yeah.
All of that has to happen in legislation. The only thing the president can do is veto it and then enforce it.
Okay.
So basically what's at stake here is that the regulatory agencies can help interpret the law within a reasonable stretch. Okay?
Okay.
So what that meant there, hang on, I want to make sure I want to get this piece right here. So, Chevron, it was a two-part test that was differential to government agencies. First, whether Congress has spoken directly to the precise issue at question, meaning, have we already passed a law about this exact situation?
Yeah.
And two, whether the agency's answer is based on a permissible construction of the statute. Basically, are you being reasonable with the laws in its place? So let's say Congress passed
the power that we're giving you. Are you being reasonable?
Right, with the law specifically. Okay. So if the law said that, you remember that pink slime with the ground with meat? You remember the slime?
The pink slime, the Taco Bell.
Right. So the pink slime was in the grocery stores too, like meat departments and grocery stores, right? It's an additive that they're going through. Okay,
sure.
So that went away because there was a federal agency that said, the FDA said, no, you can't do that. Yeah. The law says that you're not allowed to put poison in stuff. Okay. The law then went on to say that, this is going to be pink slime, but it's along the same things, that arsenic is a poison, okay? Mm-hmm. So you can't put arsenic in food. Sure. If there is arsenic in the food, it has to be under a certain limit. So 1 part per billion of arsenic is allowable because it's naturally occurring in some foods and whatever else. So that's the amount, okay?
Sure.
So that's the law. And then what the FDA said is, okay, so listen, I know this isn't arsenic, but this is cyanide and it's very similar. So we're going to tell you that it also needs to be 1 part per billion. That's what we're going to tell you. Okay. Now, again, the two-part statute here says, 1, Congress did not say anything about cyanide, so the FDA is within bounds. 2, it is a reasonable construction. It was 1 part per billion for this poison. This poison is very similar to that poison, and I don't actually know if cyanide and arsenic are similar enough. Don't follow this.
It's an example.
But so we're going to say around the same numbers for both. That is a reasonable interpretation. So if it meets that stuff, then it will hold up in court, and then we overturn that. And so what they said instead was even
that's scary.
Well, I mean, these regulators, which again now all this stuff is coming full circle because those FDA experts are about to be with Project 2025 become political appointees.
Oh Jesus! The same people that don't believe in global warming, the same people that don't believe in basically science.
I believe in global warming. I don't know how many parts per billion is safe for a poison to be in.
Sure.
I haven't been doing this for my entire professional career.
Yeah.
But now you're going to allow me. I can apply for a job and get put there to be the one who advises on what that looks like.
So wild.
So you get that part. But even without that, the other part of this is that's now saying the courts are now saying, actually, you FDA don't get to make that decision. That's not power that you've been given. The court will decide whether or not this amount of cyanide is an equivalent threat to this amount of arsenic. Okay. And the court will decide. So now we're up to a judge to figure out how many parts per billion is okay for cyanide to be sitting in there.
And what kind of documentation is he looking at?
Whatever he's been given. Now, let's make this worse. Because remember, let's make it worse. Go ahead. Judges are often also political appointees.
Yep.
There is not a whole lot of methodology. Like in the state of Florida, for example, you very rarely are voting for judges. You're mostly voting whether or not they keep their job.
Yep.
That's it. There is no real mechanism. We have got very little, like we're seeing with the Supreme Court right now, we have very little mechanism for removing judges from office.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. And this really is this is actually, I know everybody talks about the overturning of Roe v. Wade as being, this very horrible, evil thing. And it was. But the real nastiness of that was not the abortion question. That was bad. But Roe v. Wade was on some shaky legal ground to begin with.
What do you mean?
Well, because it was based on a right to privacy, and that's not the leg you want to put that on. You want them on you really want that case decided on firmer ground.
Sure. Okay.
But I always have to look this up because I always say this incorrectly here, and I want to make sure that where did my note go for it? Stare decisis. There we go.
Stare decisis.
This is a legal term that I never pronounced correctly, so I spelled it phonetically. Stare decisis is basically precedent.
Okay.
And this is what the Roe v. Wade decision really did damage to from our country at a foundational level. The law, that to me is even worse than the overturning of the protection for abortion, which was, again, horrific.
Yes.
But what's worse long term is that what the courts had said previous to that was we are very reluctant to overturn a previous court's decision. If a previous court decided something, we're not, Supreme Court specifically, we're not going to change it. Like the number of times that we're going to go against precedent is very few and far between. Brown v. Board of Education, like places where no, guys, we got this one wildly wrong. The court doesn't want to go back on its ruling.
So it's going to take a lot.
So no, they went against that. They went again. That indication and preference for precedent is called stare decisis. Now, when they overturned Roe v. Wade, they went against the stare decisis that they had been using up to that point. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time. And now you've got the Chevron case, which is another example of them going against what they had previously said.
Yeah.
Because the Chevron decision had been good law since the 80s. The Chevron came up under Reagan, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So it empowered federal agencies to be able to do their job, and now you've taken that away from them. And you haven't really taken it away from them so much as you've made it much, much easier for corporations to win in court, because that's ultimately what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. But, again, that could be changed in one law. They didn't find the Chevron case didn't find that this was unconstitutional. It said that there was not existing law to support it. So if Congress passed a law that said no, this Chevron defense that you guys have had, we're going to make the Chevron defense law. Like federal agencies can make rulings, assuming that we have not explicitly said something already about this, and it is a reasonable interpretation. We'll leave that reasonable interpretation up to the courts. They could do that right now.
So more corporations, basically, at this point, it's just an acceleration in corporate.
It's an oligarchy, man.
Yeah. It's basically, oh God, dude. Like, it's just between that and Boeing and like, I'm exhausted, dude.
So all of this changes if the Democrats decide to change the game. If they stop trying to play nice with Republicans and actually did something like put a Crockett up there and stop playing nice, dude, what you would see awesome. Here is you would then, I mean, you would have what the Democrats are afraid of is that more people will vote for Trump because they're going to be afraid of Crockett and what she represents, and that the right is going to very effectively paint her as this villain, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. The same thing they did to AOC, the same thing they did to Hillary Clinton before her, the same thing that they do the second they see a threat.
Yeah.
They were talking about Hillary Clinton presidency. Rush Limbaugh talks about it during the Clinton presidency, like day one, he starts attacking Hillary Clinton. And don't get me wrong, Hillary Clinton's
a lot to attack there.
I'm not. But AOC shows up, and AOC's in office for 10 minutes before they are finding everything they can.
Former bartender, blah blah blah. Yeah,
everything they can.
They belittle the experience. That's how they did it with Obama too.
Anyone who's a threat, they're going to keep attacking.
A community organizer.
Exactly.
I remember saying that shit. God.
Yeah.
Man, my little sister really brought it home to me. It was like, I can't believe you were like this before. I was now, because the thing is that she's seen me, debate like my brother and shit.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of hilarious to hear that. And I'm like, see, this is what it means to just dig a little bit deeper.
And continue.
The biggest problem that I had as a conservative, and the reason why I spent so much time as a conservative, is 100% because of the fact that I didn't do just a little bit more digging. And as soon as there was some sort of resistance when I was doing the digging, I was like, all right, that's good enough. Let's keep it moving, because that was how we were conditioned to absorb information. That's how they did it.
I can't imagine what system we would have grown up in that would have prompted us to take things that we were told and not follow that to its logical conclusion, and to consider anybody who brought up logical arguments, to consider them to be an other and an enemy and possibly evil.
That reminds me, we should probably do an irreverent episode soon.
Yeah.
Evangelical Christianity. There is, I have as much animosity toward that block as I do, like that block of my life, as I do the boomers. Specifically the boomers that helped with the acceleration of literally taking candy from babies, because that's what they were doing. They were taking money. They were taking resources from the generations that they were plopping out of their pink hole. So, at the end of the day, it's your fault. And and evangelicals, that was another tool.
See, here's the thing: evangelicals and hardcore Trumpers, the MAGA, the extreme, whatever, they're obviously a huge problem.
Yes,
I actually these days am more frustrated by the moderates.
Oh yeah,
I am more.
Dude.
And this is the thing too, is I'm gonna read it to you.
Yeah,
because the one that I think, this is the letter from a Birmingham jail.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh yeah. Please
This
go.
is his like is.
Yeah.
I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block and his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, quote, I agree with you in the goals you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action. Who paternalistically believes that he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a, quote, more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection.
Yes.
God.
What a great line to describe literally everything. Like, my biggest frustrations is right there. It's the both sides, the false equivalencies, the center.
The folks who say they're not going to vote for Biden because they don't like him.
All right, listen, I didn't say I wasn't going to vote for Biden. I just said
I mean, my response to those folks over and over again is, it must be nice. It must be nice to be in a spot where that is a choice you get.
Look, I get it. I hate you so much for this.
Well, here's the deal, too. Listen, I'm kind of strawmanning you because I already know full well you're going to vote for Biden. You're going to be pissed off about it, but you're going to do it.
I know, and I hate it. I hate that I'm doing that.
But if you're going to offer yourself up as a straw man, then I'm going to go ahead and beat you with this. Because this is what I would say to all of those that can. Like, that must be nice. Like, listen, I'm brown with little brown kids. No, I don't have a choice. There's no choice. I have to vote.
No, I know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not happy. What's the thing? I'm not riding with Biden.
Yeah.
I'm following behind him. I'm slow. I'm pissed, and I don't want to be here.
And thankfully, he doesn't walk fast anyway.
Right, he ain't going quick, man. Well, that's why he's in the car. Like, nobody's waiting for his ass.
Let me ask you this, because I want to. There's a couple of things I want to go on to before we go.
All right.
Number one, what are your thoughts on the 90% tax on rich people over, I think it was like, in today's money, it would be like $4.5 million.
Of course.
Okay.
Here's the deal. That's not crazy. That's what we did for a long ass time.
I know. Okay. So I'm glad that you're with that. I'm trying to find there's two things I want to go to before we go, that I want to touch on before we go. Number one, the history of Palestine pre Israel.
All right.
Briefly.
So just a light topic. Just a little bit,
last 15 minutes. Why not?
Sure. Why not? Just
throw it in there.
Solve Palestine. Got it. Okay, what else?
Yep. And then the other thing is, I want to know where you and I deviate from left, because you and I were basically lockstep on most things.
Oh, you mean to tell you where?
Yeah, please.
I'm pro-capitalism.
Oh.
Because here's the deal. Capitalism is not an evil system.
But capitalism as it's set up, or
this is not capitalism any more than, do you know what the Republican ideology is? Small government.
Yeah.
And individual liberty.
Sure.
I don't know if you've seen what the current playbook is, but it is not for small government, nor is it for individual liberty.
Sure.
Republicans on paper should be hardcore trans rights. They should be hardcore all of that stuff, but they're not. Capitalism basically encourages the market to figure itself out.
Sure.
The problem here is that any system unrestrained inevitably is going to eat itself. Okay? So the role of the government here, to my mind, is not to stop corporations from being able to compete. It is not to get involved and regulate anything beyond the stuff for pure safety and such. But the other thing it's supposed to do is keep the playing field level.
Okay.
Because the problem with capitalism here is, as soon as you win, as soon as you knock out your competition, the first thing you do is make sure competition can't get back at you.
Yep.
You pull the ladder up behind you. You whatever else. You intentionally lower prices so that you take a loss for a while to keep your competition from going in. And then we talk about them being evil, but no, that's That's what they do.
Capitalism.
That's their job. No, that's not a capitalist. That's just a business's job, is to do everything it can to survive. It is like complaining about a tiger attacking you. Well, listen, a tiger's going to attack. That's in its nature. The thing the government is supposed to be doing that it is failing to do is keeping the playing field level.
Okay.
To stop them from being able to scorch earth. Because the number one way a corporation makes it impossible for others to follow them? By getting laws passed.
Yeah.
And so that's your problem. And here's the deal. If you were to flip this around and you wanted to go to communistic or heavy socialism, not this like AOC and Bernie and even the leftists are talking about a democratic socialism.
Sure.
Not a big ass capital S socialism.
Sure.
But in big S socialism, which is the logical other side of this, then the government is deciding which companies instead. Instead of the companies fighting out amongst themselves, the government picks which companies. It doesn't change what's happening in the end. A handful of people are getting stupid rich, and they're using the government to do it. So this is why you need this. You need this system in tension. You need to have the rich people fighting against each other, and the government keeping the playing field as level as possible.
So you're saying that capitalism is that the fact that every 10 years, apparently, we're getting into having recessions and having like economic fucking meltdowns every X amount of time, every X amount of years, 10, 15 years. That is the way it's supposed to work, though.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I have to make one big correction here because I'm going to be pissed at myself.
Yeah.
Capitalism is an economic system, not a political system.
Correct. Socialism,
communism, these are political systems.
Yes.
So it is not accurate to talk about capitalism versus... But the recession every 10 years comes back. Well, look, here's the deal. Most of our economic thinkers are big fans of Keynesian economics.
Yeah.
Keynesian economics is very complicated and it isn't terribly important. Yeah. But the big takeaway that most people take from Keynesian economics is that the economy should always be growing. It should always grow. It should never come down. It should always go forward.
That's insane.
Everyone else is studying literally anything else. Goes, I mean, like as a historian, I'm like, I'm so sorry. What?
Yeah,
like are you out of your fucking mind?
Cancer is the only thing that like grows.
Yeah,
all the time.
Well, it eventually stops because the thing dies. Yeah. Like nothing goes on and on. Even outer space is expanding out ever, but is probably going to eventually stop and start collapsing back on itself. Maybe, we don't really know. Like the Keynesian economic model that we follow is stupid. So the reason that we keep running into these recessions and such is that rather than accepting that there is a natural ebb and flow to the economy, we push, and then it falls down, and then we push, and then it falls down.
So instead of going like, instead of riding the wave, we're just kind of like thump,
and then we climb back up, and then we fall over, and we call back up. Now
that sounds like what capitalism is doing. Like that sounds like a product of capitalism.
It is, and because this version of capitalism has metastasized. It has, like a cancer, it has wormed its way into the politics. It's wormed its way into it's wormed its way into everything.
Sure.
And so at that point, it just becomes this thing that feeds on itself. This massive consumerism and all these other things just keeps feeding on itself. And until you establish something that's going to pull back on it the other way, but we haven't been like this forever, because in the 50s and 60s, you had a top tax rate of 95 or 96% for the top earners, basically saying, listen, at a certain point, companies, no more money isn't going to help you because we're going to take it all.
Yeah.
And so what that does here is that says once a company reaches this much money, now they could go park it overseas, they could try to do a bunch of whatever, but for the most part, what the companies are going to do is said, well, then there's not much point in us making more money than this, so now we need to figure out something else. And now they're starting to put money into other things, and that's what grows. Not to mention that when it does, the government now has this surplus of cash. And of course, now we come to the other half of this, of course, because the corruption within the government doesn't make good use of that. But if you had a system where, again, you had tension, you had people pulling on either side, then that money is less of that money is likely to end up where it's not supposed to be. More, at least some of that money is going to go to roads and bridges.
So how do you sell someone that has grown up in a world where taking 90%, let's call it 90%, 95, whatever, of your money is absolutely insane. Let's say somebody making, I don't know, they make $75,000 a year. They have a house that they've worked hard for, that kind of thing. 90% of their money is going to be taken away from the government after $4.5 million, let's call it. Can you sell somebody what is the?
No, in all sincerity, no.
There's no way to sell that.
But, and this is very important, doesn't matter. That person is not the one who decides.
But it's most people. Like, most people have a mentality. I don't think.
Way. Well, listen, most people define most people though. Like, based on what numbers you got.
I mean,
because here's the thing. I think that you would find that most people, if I were to guess, don't actually think that there's a problem with taking 90% of people making $4.5 million. Like I know that they may be like, there's going to be those that are going to be opposed to it, but of the ones that are actually going to vote, like, you're gonna, especially, and really, if you want to sell it, if I was a politician, I was trying to sell this, what I would sell is, and then I can fix all your roads and bridges, and then I can lower your tax burden. And then let me show you what I can do now. And then we can improve healthcare in the United States. And then we can, there's a whole, you show them what you're going to do with it. Sure. Now, this requires the Democrats to be competent. So basically it's
a pipe dream.
Yeah. But I mean, so is actually instituting a tax where you take 90% of things over $4.5 million.
No, I know.
What was the thing I saw, when they were ever just freaking out about Biden's tax plan, and there was a picture, just a picture of the popcorn ceiling, and said, if your ceiling looks like this, you don't need to worry about Biden's tax plan. And I was like, and I got popcorn ceilings at home, and I'm like, he's right though. He's right.
He's right. That's funny. It's true.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So final thing. We put it in the end because we've been talking so much about it.
Let's go. All right.
Let's do this. All right. So, as a historian, this is something that I was talking to my friend Rami about in the last episode, a couple episodes ago, where the conclusion that I came to was that Palestinians and, the other, by extension, all the other countries that were colonized by Europe, but right now the ones that are in the forefront, Palestine is literally paying for World War II crimes.
Yeah.
That is a realization that I came to when I was talking about Palestine and the history and the.
You talk about the formation of Israel, the formation of the Israeli state. Yeah,
it was like the Germans fucked up, so the brown people have pay.
Well, yeah. Where else are they going to put them? You going to put them with the white people? No.
The South America, wasn't there
no, well, okay, so you have.
Yeah, because I want to know where these European Jews get that, because the Israeli Jews lived with the Palestinians and Palestinian Jews and Palestinian Arabs. DJ Khaled, a famous Palestinian, Jesus, Palestinian Jew. All these people lived in fair harmony. It wasn't kumbaya, but it was it wasn't what's going on now.
Yeah, well,
right?
you've got a couple things that are kind of happening simultaneously. Okay, it is not exclusively Europe's fault. It is partly Europe's fault.
Sure,
but it's not exclusively Europe's fault.
Okay,
I'm gonna differentiate here. I'm gonna be very intentional in my language here to talk about the Jewish people versus the Israeli people.
Sure,
because we need
very different people.
We need to draw. Yeah. Well, not always very different people, but these are two groups. People. You can be a part of one without necessarily being a part of the other.
Correct.
So, the Jewish people,
yes,
lay claim to this particular section of the world, and they have some deep history. The Jewish faith is significantly older than Christianity or Islam.
Yeah.
And so they have this space that's their holy lands, and this is all that stuff. So they want this area. Now, the problem, of course, is that other groups have also wanted this area for a variety of reasons, not just Muslims. Long before the Muslims came around, long before the Christians came around, the Jews were fighting with a whole bunch of other groups that were in there, and that followed all sorts of other different religions. And so all of this group is mixing and matching and interacting, and they're doing all of their kind of stuff, right? So this is not terribly different than what you would see in 100 other places around the world.
Okay.
World War II comes around, and after World War II, you find that you have World War I and World War II, because we talk about them separately, and they need to be talked about separately. But like, as a historian, I'm taking, if you zoom out like one level, you have these two giant world wars that change everything.
Yeah.
Okay, and that drag in the world, right? Hence the World War thing.
Yeah.
So when that's all said and done, and colonialism starts to go out of vogue, now it's time for us to get rid of all of these colonies and figure out what the hell we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So you get part of the problem that is that Europe draws these lines around these groups, just like they did in Africa. I mean, the continent is in much worse shape than the Middle East is in a lot of ways, because they just drew big boxes around things, and groups that had been mortal enemies are now having to share the same space. We're supposed to create a government together. Or
that sounds familiar.
Groups that were, you know, a respected minority community, because of the way you drew it, now is in charge, and now this minority community is going to get back at you for all the stuff that you did to them previously. And there's a history of bloodshed and violence and whatever else. And so you've got all of those different things happening at the same time that Islam is entering. This is wildly offensive. Islam is reaching puberty. Like, you see Christianity do the same thing during the Crusades. You see, like, most major religions go through this spot at some point where they're starting to feel themselves and they get violent. Like, they all do it. Yeah. So, like, the Islam has been getting treated like shit. They're having their stuff taken from them. Yeah. They're already upset, and then they also are getting to the point where some of their followers are leaning more towards a more violent interpretation of the Quran. So you've got that happening at the same time as Europe is coming down and saying, "Hey, everybody, here's your new borders. Good fucking luck. Oh, by the way, y'all got oil, so we're not actually leaving." Yeah. So now we're going to dump a bunch of money into this situation. Now we're going to dump a bunch of resources into this situation. Now we're going to dump a bunch of these different lines and such. And all of those are going to come together. And then they're going to say, hey, by the way, the Israels aren't just going to get their own area that is now very culturally significant for another religion. We're going to give them the ability to defend that area violently. We're going to give them no real reason to work with their neighbors. Yeah. And that is a big part of this. But I'll tell you this. Everybody looks at Benjamin Netanyahu and says, this man is a war criminal.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
And he is.
Yes.
I want to be very clear. He's absolutely a war criminal. He's done horrific things. He should be tried in The Hague. He should go to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay.
But
I was just waiting for you to just like, some would say he's a war criminal. And moving on.
Yeah, no, he is. But I think what is lost around here, and what I try to take a step back and think about, and this, by the way, is going to be a very depressing note to leave on.
Great.
Is that like no, Netanyahu does not consider himself to be a villain. He considers himself to be a hero.
I know.
And it's important for us,
super Zionist,
try to figure out what to do and how to respond to these things, to remember that for Netanyahu and his supporters, he is looking at it as if, look, it has been made very clear to him through his life experiences that it is either Israel or Palestine, that there is no way for them to coexist.
I think he's smarter than that.
There's evidence to support his belief. I mean, do you remember how you remember there's that famous picture of Bill Clinton and won the Peace Prize, right? Because you had Yasser Arafat and
Yasser Arafat, the old PM.
Yeah, they're shaking hands, right? Yeah. Peace in the Middle East was achieved. Clinton did it, right?
Yeah.
The thing that took that out, the thing that ruined that, was violent factions on both sides of the aisle that never wanted peace. And this is the problem, because there are violent factions on both sides.
It's okay.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. My issue, and this is something that this is one of those situations that I have definitely moved left on, and it's been weird for me because like I've always spoken and will speak about organizations like Hamas negatively, but the thing with Hamas is that they are a resistance organization that is resisting an oppressive group, an occupying force. Like, I have a hard time.
Hamas is more than that.
Yeah, they're also a political party.
They weren't always a political party.
Yeah.
They became a political party when a moderate group of them said, what if we... a group of moderate people within the Hamas faction looked around and said, this isn't sustainable. This is going to continue until one of us completely kills the other one. And the real problem there is that if it comes down to which one of them is going to win, it's going to be the Israelites. Like, they have all of the power, the money, and the weapons, and the international support. So Hamas... There was a group of people in Hamas, very intelligent, very far-sighted people who said, we have to make peace here. And there was a group within the Israeli government who said, we would also really like to make peace here. And so that was Arafat shaking hands. That was all of that stuff that went down. But you still have these violent groups inside of here. So this and Netanyahu is one of them.
He's part of the violent group.
Oh, yeah. He's absolutely part of the group that sabotaged that peace the second it happened.
Yeah.
He is a villain. He is evil.
Yes.
But to him, there is only and he has enough evidence to look at it. It says there's only one way this ends. One of us cannot be here anymore. And so at some point Netanyahu decided genocide it is. And anybody who could not, I mean, it is abundantly clear by the end of the second or third week that this was not just an outsized response. Because Israel has always been as I used to say, if you punch me in the shoulder, I'll hit you with a Buick. Like, I'm going to teach you not to do this. One of
my favorite Al lines.
Yeah, I'm going to violently overreact to teach you not to do this again.
Yeah,
and that has been Israel. I don't want to associate myself too deeply with Israeli policy here.
Are you calling yourself? Are you a Zionist?
I am not at all. But that has been their historical approach.
For sure. No, yeah.
But it was clear after about 2 or 3 weeks that that's not what they were doing here. And they are absolutely. Let's be very clear. They're not going to come to the table. Unless something changes on the political landscape, and there is absolutely movements around that. Unless somebody stops Netanyahu, either politically, he's not going to care about the UN. U.S. isn't going to change. He's not going to stop for mercy. He's not going to do. Yeah. He is going to kill all of them.
What is okay? So,
except of course that he can't actually kill all of them, and that what he's doing actually is
creating
a much more violent extremist faction.
It's because it's not about that either. Like, it's not about eliminate. It's about him and his political advancement or his political retainment at this point.
Well, yes, but I genuinely believe that he thinks he's doing what's necessary. Look, Hitler. I will absolutely do a comparison here.
Okay, good.
I think Hitler. From the bits and pieces that I have read and learned and whatever else, Hitler looked at the Jews not as actually evil, but as like, somebody has to pay for this.
Yeah.
This is the cost of German supremacy.
Yeah.
And German supremacy is what we need. And if the cost of German supremacy is the Jewish people, then it's the Jewish people.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, that's an acceptable cost.
I hate to end it at the on this note, but
hey, next time let's talk about the trolley problem.
it's
I'm serious. I got thoughts.
You get thoughts about what trolley problem?
I don't know. I'll save it for next time.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Dude, Al, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, man.
I can't wait to do this again. We'll get back on and maybe do an irreverent episode. Or
oh, yeah, man.
Do something else. I don't know.
Something. I will try my damnedest to find happier topics for you.
Please do, man, because honestly, it was heavy. It was heavy today.
Yeah, listen, just everyone just really hope that Democrats decide to back Crockett. And
I'm for Crockett.
Listen, it would be... Oh, God, it does. It looks... Because I think that if I want to leave on a hopeful note, I want to leave on a hopeful note.
Leave on a hopeful note, please.
80 to 90% of the problems that the United States faces are 100% fixable in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It is the political will that is missing.
I'm going to bring back down the hope. Has any country historically done...
Absolutely.
Oh.
No, absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. You've seen countries turn... I mean, look, just in the same way that you've seen countries go from great to terrible in a very, very short amount of time, you get... Like, Obama almost had it. You know what would have happened? I'll tell you, if Obama had been a touch more confrontational, and if the people behind him, the rest of the Democratic Party, hadn't been such cowards, it would have happened there.
Yeah. So we need somebody that is Obama adjacent, and but just with a little bit more punch. That sounds like Crockett.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That sounds like Crockett.
And I think you have enough, like... I don't consider myself a leftist. I am sympathetic to a lot of where you're at.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm gonna say. If I saw y'all pulling a guillotine down the street, and then later on somebody was like, "Did you see anything?" I'll be like, "Nah, man."
Thanks, man.
That's where I'm at.
That makes me happy.
My first, what's like Terminator 2. My first instinct was lie to a cop. Like that's what absolutely be.
Amen.
But like. But I do think that this country needs to go a radically far left to get us back to center.
Okay.
That's really where...
You mean radically far right? Because that's what you were talking about before that we were end up going to do.
No, we already are radically far right. I think we need to go radically far left so that we end up back in the middle.
Back in the middle? Okay.
Yes.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, brother. I'm hopeful. A little more hopeful than I was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. 30, 40 years from now, I'll be sitting here with some conservative who's outnumbered as the leftists are taking over everything, and I'll try to spin some hope for them about how the conservatives can try to balance this out.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that. That's when you start going, remember 2020? Remember 2024? That's what you need to do. Well, thanks, man. And we'll do it again very, very soon. How fucking rude of me. Alan, where can people see you? Where can people find you?
I got a thing, man.
You got a thing?
I've got a thing.
Oh, shit. He's got a thing.
You can check out, actually, I have, not political at all, I actually have my own board game convention coming up here pretty soon.
You have a board game convention?
Yes, Meeples and Peoples. You can find it at meeplesandpeoplescon.com. Meeples are the little piece you move around on a game board.
Those are called meeple in every game?
If they're people-shaped, they're called meeples.
Interesting. So,
meeplesandpeoplescon.com. And it's the last weekend of September. It is the only board game convention with a dedicated happy hour. We are located. It's going to be happening at the Maitland Renaissance, Sheraton Maitland.
Oh, the Sheraton Maitland. Yes. Yeah, great spot.
And Anto Bar is this very large pub.
I love Anto Bar.
Our game rooms are 10 feet from the entrance to the bar. And so every night we do a happy hour over there. So if you like board games and you would like a more casual atmosphere, check out meeplesandpeoplescon.com. Tickets are on sale now. We've got about... I think we sold about half our tickets.
Okay.
So if anybody would like to join us, $50 get you a badge for the whole weekend. It goes Thursday to Sunday, the 27th through the 30th, I think it is. It's our last weekend in December. Meeplesandpeoplescon.com. You can find us and get their Discord and everything else from there.
Meeplesandpeoplescon.com. Dude, I can't wait to... you know what? Can I get a press pass for it?
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're going to play any games, so you can come hang out for a little bit.
Exactly.
Come join us at the bar.
The man knows me. The man knows me. My name is DJ Zouain. You can find me anywhere on social media at DJ Zouain. You can find me on all of the IGs, Twitch, TikTok, Twitter. Not Twitter. Actually, not Twitter. X. No, I'm not on X either.
Twitter's the only dead naming I do.
That's true. That is true. No, but I am on Threads, though, so I'm threading. So thanks for hanging out. I can't remember.
Nah, you're going to fix this in post.
We'll talk to you next week. Peace.